Hey guys, so today I'm making a video about nose ring care and everything you should expect when you get a nose ring. A lot of people lately have been getting nose rings just because it's like the trend and people think it's cute. One of the reasons why I got my nose ring because I just thought it was cute. I've been seeing a lot more people with nose rings. I'm usually surprised when I don't see a girl with a nose ring. That's kind of how many people have it. Like if you watch videos and blah blah blah, people have piercings now and it's just the trend. There's nothing wrong with that because I obviously followed it. I'm going to talk about my experience with nose rings and piercings. I feel like my experience is kind of different than most people's. Most people have a good experience with their nose ring and nothing happens, nothing goes wrong really, they just have to wash it and that's pretty much it, but mine has a tale to tell. I'm just gonna tell you basic things like how it hurts when you get it pierced, what are the pros and cons, care of a nose ring, and if you have sensitive skin, what to do, because I have sensitive skin. So last year in November, during my senior year of high school, I begged my mom to take me to go get my nose pierced because I just wanted a change. I'm bored of how I look and stuff, so I wanted a nose ring just to, you know, like change things up. Also, having a nose ring is against my school rules, so I was also taking kind of a risk with that. They can give me a detention, I really didn't care. And I never got in trouble, so I got my nose pierced and I had a stud at first because they recommend to get your nose pierced with a stud. I wouldn't recommend getting a hoop, even though now I think a hoop is better, but in the beginning, it's like roll around in your nose and you have to like twist them a lot sometimes to get them back into place. Mine isn't all the way around, it stops like halfway inside my nose, so I have to twist it sometimes so you don't see that gap. I got a stud in the beginning, so this is how the sizes work for nose rings, circumferences or whatever. Like 16 millimeter is bigger than like a 22 millimeter. That's just how I don't actually know if it's millimeter or, because that sounds like a liter, something, I don't know. The smaller the number, the bigger, you know, the hole in your nose is gonna be. So I had a pretty large one. I think it was like 16 or 18. The hole in my nose was pretty big and the stud was pretty small. It was like a decent size. Nose rings are shaped like this, like an L. This will go in your nose and then you have to twist it in the back. That's hard to explain, but like it's an L shape, so imagine a giant thing going in the back of your nostril. It's not very comfortable, so I'm just warning you guys now, it's not that comfortable in the beginning, especially because you're getting used to the feeling, and even now it still bothers me, so it might just be me. I might have a small inside of my nose, but I can feel the nose ring in my nose, and it always feels like you have a constant booger you need to pick, and that's one of the reasons why my nose always got infected, because I would always go inside and touch it, which you should not do, especially if you have sensitive skin. A warning sign for sensitive skin is if you get red when you put ear piercings in, and I should have known that because I have to wear really good metals in my ears or else they'll get really red and infected. So my nose is the same way basically. If you have sensitive ears, be very wary of your nose because it'll probably be really similar, or if you're really sensitive to acne or anything like that, your nose might get infected really easily, in my opinion. I don't know if that's actually like a thing, but I just feel like that's how it is because I'm sensitive to all of that stuff. I break out. Anyway, what was I talking about? So yeah, I went to the piercer and I got it pierced and it did not hurt at all. I don't really get when people say that it hurts. Like it's sore afterward, like a little bit if you like mess with it and stuff, but after that it's like it didn't really hurt. It just felt like someone was pushing on my nose really hard. I don't think the pain is a problem, and even if it is, you can just get through it. I mean, just like certain things like that, like getting shots or getting your ears pierced, you can get over it and you'll be fine. The one thing that the guy told me that I really hate that he told me this, he said, oh, don't worry about getting this salt water cleaner or anything like that, just use soap, you'll be fine. Like, I don't want to rip you off into buying the saltwater stuff. And I wish he did because only using soap really messed my nose up. Here are my cleaning tips for nose ring care. So I started out with, this is what I use. It's the Aveeno, I don't have autofocus, but it's Aveeno fragrance-free baby soap, and I use this to wash my face because my face is really sensitive and it's good for dry skin and stuff like that. So I use this, which doesn't really bother my nose ring, but like just using this alone didn't really clean it out. I used so many things. I used, now that we're talking about cleaning, my nose would have like a couple weeks of like being okay, and then all of a sudden I would like bump it on accident. It would freak out by itself. And a warning sign of when your nose is about to get infected is it feels really like puffy on the inside and it feels like you have a booger in there, like even more than it does before. It just feels not okay. And then the next day you wake up with a giant circle around your nose ring, like at the very top, and that's called a keloid, and it's basically tissue building up because it's trying to close the nose hole, but the nose ring is in the way, so it builds up, and so it basically looks like a giant zit with a white head. And these are not pretty, and my mistake was to pop them because I had to go to school and I didn't want people to look at that and be like, that's disgusting. So I would pop them, and like it would be okay for a couple days, but then it would just keep coming back, and it was just like a long cycle. And I looked it up and everyone was like, do not pop them, but I didn't really care because I didn't want it to look gross. But my advice is if you get one of those, just tough it out for a week, lock yourself up in a room or something if you're embarrassed. After a while, I didn't get embarrassed anymore. I was just like, yeah, I know, my nose is infected. And people would be like, do you know your nose, like, wow, your nose doesn't look very good. I'm like, I know, I look in the mirror. Like, I know my nose is infected. And it doesn't hurt when it's infected at all. It just looks really gross. And unfortunately, I would always get it on the top, not in the inside. I wouldn't really care if it was in the inside. No one can really see that. And it doesn't really necessarily mean it's infected. It's just a bunch of buildup of dirt and bacteria, and it's trying to rid of it. So I don't think that's an infection. It's just like a, you know, I don't know. It's called a keloid. You can look it up. I don't really know the medical definitions, but I've had a lot of them. Just this past, like, couple weeks ago, I got another one, and it was, like, the worst I've ever gotten. And I said to myself, Katie, do not pop this one, because I never not popped them. So I toughed it out, and I had to babysit that week, and the kids were like, that's disgusting. What I did differently this time, I didn't use this, or the other thing that I used to clean was my ear piercing care solution, which works. It just like cleans it out a little bit. And I got this tea tree oil, and it's in the beauty section care thing. And I got the brand Jason. You can see you can't really see because I'm not going to focus it, but I've already used a lot of it, and it helped my nose ring so much. Basically what tea tree oil does is it rids all bacteria and it kills it, I think. And it's like not bad for your skin, and I started putting this on my acne too and stuff, and it's really good for your whole face and your body, so I would just like put it on my face too. And it's also really good aromatherapy, like when you breathe it in, because it's right next to your nose. It smells really good and it's pretty relaxing, so I really recommend investing in tea tree oil if you get your nose pierced, because it helps so much. So yeah, I would recommend this, and just having a very soothing face wash, because you don't want a lot of fragrance from like face washes or whatever like dripping down into that, because it might bother it and make it irritated. I recommend this, and there's also other ones, just like any baby soap is good. If you use other face wash that you don't want to get rid of, just very carefully wash around that area, because you don't want it to touch. And especially when you put makeup on, I know a lot of beauty gurus have nose rings and they just go to town on makeup on their nose, and I guess it's just because it doesn't bother their nose ring and they got lucky. Everyone is different, but this is just my experience with sensitive skin and prone to like anything happening. I'm just a very fragile person, so if you put a lot of makeup on, really make sure you don't touch that area. I just don't do that side of my nose, and it doesn't really make a difference because I don't put that much foundation on or anything, so you just have to play with it and figure out how your nose ring is going to be. A couple months in, like 6 weeks later, I changed it to a hoop. I found that the stud would sit on top of the skin, which would make it more easy to get a keloid around it, I feel like, so I switched it to a really thin hoop, and so my nose ring had to close around the thinness of it because my nose ring before that was really thick. It made my nose hole a lot more smaller, which I like because I don't want a giant hole in my nose, which is kind of stupid. Why did I get my nose pierced? But it's better than having a giant hole. So I switched to a hoop, and it's so much more comfortable. The pros of having a hoop, so much more comfortable, so much easier, because it's just sitting there. Like, you don't really feel it as much as a stud, and the most like important thing for me is being comfortable, and having a stud is just not comfortable for me. You can get different like styles of a stud. You can get a spiral one, L-shaped one, and just a straight one, but the straight ones fall out really easily, but you just have to play around with that. The hoop for me is the best option because it's just really easy, it's thin, and you don't really feel it. So the only thing you have to watch out for that is it twisting around and stuff and getting infected, but I've had less infections with a hoop than a stud, so that's just my experience. And this one is rose gold, I think. I don't know how many carats it is or anything, but I went to my piercing pagoda. Like, it's a little kiosk in my mall, and that's where I get my piercings and stuff, which they're not very good quality, but I don't have a credit card, so I can't order them online. I would recommend getting the highest gold you can, or highest silver, or whatever. Just in the long run, you wear it every single day. You don't really change nose rings that often. You only need like 2 or 3 or 1. The pros and cons of having a nose ring: the cons is that it might get infected. It kind of takes a lot of time to upkeep, because I've had many nights where I sit in front of my mirror and just like look at it and like try to fix it, and it just makes it worse. So it kind of takes a lot of time and maintenance if you are having problems with it, but if you don't, then that's awesome. I wish I was like that, because I wish it was easy. A lot of my friends have nose rings, and I asked them like, what do you do when this happens? And they're like, that never happens to me. So I don't know. So, but I'm gonna be that person for you if that's how it is. The pros is that it looks cute, and I like it, and I think it just like is kind of me. I mean, that sounds really stupid, but like I just kind of like having a nose ring. It's just cute and I like it. So if it makes you happy, get it. And I'm just warning you of all the things that I said to be wary of when you do get your nose pierced. And at school, it was kind of hard to have one, because if you have a school that is against nose rings, I would just recommend waiting. I had to put a band-aid over my nose every time I went to the office, which was really annoying, and they were probably like, why does she have a band? It was actually like really stupid. You can get those clear ones. They don't look like you have a nose ring in if you're like far away, so I would wear those sometimes, and I would not recommend putting those in your nose. They didn't really infect my nose, but they were really easy to get pulled out of your nose. And I was walking down the hallway once, and I'm really short, I'm 4'11", so someone's backpack was like right near my face, and they walked past me and it brushed my nose, ripped that clear nose ring out, and it's made out of plastic, so it's probably not good for your nose, and it hurt so bad. And I didn't have a backup nose ring to put back into it, so it was closing by every hour. I didn't have one in, and then I got home and it was all puffy and gross, and that was probably like one of the worst infections I've had too. It was just because I bumped it. And also, when you take showers, I feel like I'm just rambling, but I have so many like things to tell you. When you take showers and stuff and you get out and go like this with your face, or you're washing your face, try not to get the towel near your nose at all, because it will tug and get caught on the little fibers of the towel. It hurts like a mother. But when I have a hoop, it doesn't really tug on anything, so that's another pro to having a hoop. The studs just are really hard to maintain and like not get caught on stuff. When I had a stud, I would put a shirt on and it would get caught, and then it would get infected. So it was just a bad cycle. So you have to be really careful around here, because your skin will get really dry around your nose ring. And I don't know if this happens to everyone, but it happens to me. I also have dry skin. I just have really bad skin. And the skin around here will get extremely dry because I don't know really why it gets dry. I guess maybe because you're putting a bunch of stuff right there, and I don't know. But try not to pick at it, because when your fingers go right here, it kind of spreads the germs, and you just kind of have to deal with it. And if anything, put really extremely light lotion on there, no fragrance, anything. I use Cetaphil or Cetaphil, I don't really know how to say it, and that hasn't really bugged my nose ring, so I would really recommend Cetaphil. You can get it at like Walgreens or CVS or anything like that. So yeah, that's all I have for nose ring care. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope it helped you to see the pros and cons of having a nose ring, and I hope you guys enjoy. See you later, and subscribe and like this video. Bye!